Why is it so hard to write 14 and 15-year-olds? My name is Gina. I'm an author, editor, publishing professional. I help you make your writing better. And it's actually not specifically 14 and 15-year-olds. It is like everything from 15 down to like 10 is extremely difficult for most authors to write. And there are probably real, genuine psychological reasons for this, but the thing that I think this comes down to is we just simply don't have a lot of representation of them. And so we don't have a lot of things to lean on to understand how these characters should be represented in fiction. So there are a lot of stories set in high schools, but the characters are always like 11th and 12th grade. Occasionally you might have like second half of 10th grade, but those characters are all 16. So you get lots of 16, 17, 18-year-olds in high school. You get lots of 17, 18, 19-year-olds in college. You get lots of kids working their first jobs, kids with driver's licenses. If we do historical stuff, we have kids that are of marrying age or kids that are like, so they are 16 and 17, which I know is very, very young, but the number of people who were married off at 14 has always been very, very small. But the number of people married at 16 and 17, not as rare. Before everybody jumps in with their, well, actuallys, no, I am talking about like big, broad, general strokes. I am making gross over generalizations here. This is like, this is not that serious. Stop typing. But because we have a lot of movies and TV shows and books and plays and stories and historical accounts and all of these things from people who are 16, 17, 18 years old, it is easier for a lot of writers to tap into that character voice. And we also, when we think back to our high school experiences, we tend to think of the last couple of years. A lot of people, when they will talk about their teen years or their high school years, or they're talking about like when they had their driver's license and when they were dating and when they went to prom and their first job. These are the experiences that we all tend to latch onto and remember from adulthood. We don't tend to spend quite as much time talking about those years before we had that type of independence, so we aren't spending as much time like ruminating on the ages of 13 and 14 years old. We are spending a lot more time ruminating on 16, 17, 18. So it is easier for a lot of adults to think back and remember what it felt like to be 17, but it's harder to think back and remember what it was like to be 13. So this is a difficult age range. The lower YA and the middle grade is a difficult age range for people to write. I edit books in these spaces, and there are a couple of things that are extremely difficult. The voice is very difficult, and most writers will fall back on some version of using a lot of really big SAT words or adult type language and stuff that sounds like little kids, and they will just sort of like bounce back and forth and hope it averages out, when that's not usually what kids this age are going to do. They have their own rhythm and they have their own cadence of speaking. They have their own language that they are speaking, and you have to tap into what a 12-year-old sounds like. But then we also need to tap into what a 12-year-old behaves like, what a 14-year-old behaves like, what their ability to make decisions and think about consequences look like. And that is difficult to do, partially because if you ask a kid this age, like, why did you do that? Well, I don't know. They don't know. They don't know why they did that. And so you are trying to tap into a brain that doesn't even know why it is doing any of the things that it is doing. And then layered on top of all of this is the fact that these books are made for kids. Middle grade, lower YA are made very explicitly for children. So they are about children, they are for children, but everybody involved in the making of them is an adult. The writer, the editors, the acquiring editors, the marketing department, the literary agent. And in fact, some of these adults are very highly educated and don't have kids of their own and don't have a frame of reference for this. And so you layer in all of these difficulties and then pile on the fact that there's a good chance that 50% of the people making this don't even know what a 14-year-old acts like day to day. It's a very difficult age range to write. It's not impossible, and there are a lot of people who are doing it really, really well, and they deserve all of the kudos and they deserve to be paid more. I'm not in charge of any of those decisions, but they deserve to be paid more, because the people who write good middle grade and good lower YA, they are worth all of their weight in gold and diamonds and rubies and whatever else is expensive out there in the world, because these are the people who are writing the books that will shape the next generation, and they are literally going to help save us all.